problem with the ISA, it doesn't sound like this. Hello and welcome back to the Volks Wizard channel. Now, some of you may know the Mk4 Golf R32 is a very significant car for me as well as for Volkswagen. It was launched in 2002, which was the year that I launched my Volks Wizard used car sales business, and I sold loads of them. It was the first Mk4 Golf to really appeal to enthusiasts like us, and it formed the template for the Volkswagen R brand that we know and love today. Back in 2013, I ran one as a daily driver and project car. I drove it on track both here in the UK and at the Nürburgring. We even both appeared on fifth gear. So when I got my hands on this totally unmodified, impeccably maintained reference example, I did think maybe this is a car I should add to my collection, but sadly it sold so quickly I didn't get the time to make that decision, and I'm beginning to wonder if that was a mistake. So in today's video, we're going to find out if the Mk4 Golf R32 is the real modern classic that all the adverts tell you that it is, and whether every Volkswagen enthusiast should aspire to have one in their garage, and that includes me. But before we get started, let me just remind you guys how you can support the channel. As ever, the easiest way is simply to subscribe. Because I'm back buying and selling cars, there is inevitably going to be lots of unique content that I can make on the buying and selling process and problems that I have with cars. But also, I'm still going to be reviewing new cars. There's quite a few good ones coming over the next few weeks. So if you like what you see on this channel, then please do subscribe. But another way you can support the channel that will benefit both you and me is for you to sell me your interesting Volkswagen Group vehicle. Because I'm buying to sell myself as well as for the dealer that I bought for a number of years, I'm very open-minded about what I will buy. So if you've got an interesting Volkswagen Group vehicle that is in really good condition with average mileage or below, full service history, and totally unmodified, then get in touch with me directly by email, andrew@volkswizard.co.uk. Okay, let's start then by having a look around the outside of this Mk4 Golf R32, and you could say its looks are its strongest card, even though it's only really subtly modified compared to a normal Mk4 Golf. For example, the wheel arches aren't flared like they are on, say, an Audi S3 of the same age. It's still very, very striking. It's got a lot of presence. Now the roof is the same, the bonnet is the same, even the grille is the same as your Grand's cooking Mk4 Golf, but it's the details. So we have the standard xenon headlamps, which were an option on every other Mk4 Golf. The badge was the object of desire when this car came out. The big difference is from the bumper. So this is quite a bit more aggressive than you get on a normal Mk4 Golf. It does look like it sucks in a lot of air, but actually the outer grills are filled in. It's only the middle one that does any work, but even so, yeah, that's pretty good looking. I'd argue that in silver it looks more striking than deep blue pearl for some reason. It really shows off the lines, but as ever, that is subjective. There isn't a splitter on these cars. A lot of people fit Leon Cooper splitters, but there is a little bit of plastic trim at the bottom there that stops you from damaging the bumper if you sort of park it on top of a curb. For example, the wings are the same, the side repeaters are the same. The wheels, well, yeah, I think these were such a good choice. They're Oz Aristos 18-inch 225/40 18 tyres. They're a cool wheel because they're very motorsport style. They're not fancy, they're not diamond cut. They just look fantastic. And they house some of the biggest brakes that we had in the Golf for a very long time. The most important thing is they're two-piece. So you've got an aluminium bell and a steel disc, and it's held onto the bell by pins. We didn't see two-piece brakes after the Mk4 R32 until the Club Sport Fs came out in 2016. So that's like a good over 10 years before they've refitted them to a Golf. Actually, it's got smaller mirrors, isn't it? Pretty sure they're smaller than the standard Golf. So the main difference at the side is we've got this really bold sill extension that's bolted onto the original sill. It's not sort of flared out or anything like that. It just makes the car look a lot beefier. Quarter panel is the same. There's no difference here, but again, the wheels have a big effect. We've got vented back discs. They're just one-piece steels, but they're vented, which was, I think, only reserved for like the 170 horsepower V5, the V6 formation, and the R32. And then we've got the standard like 1.8T tinted rear lights, the standard tailgate. Of course, the badge is on there as well. And the bumper, I guess, follows the theme of the front bumper, so it's a bit bolder than the one on the normal car. It's got this cutout section down here as well. I'm not sure if that does anything. It lets the exhaust get cooled, I don't know. And then we've got this very iconic exhaust tailpipe arrangement with the two pipes just on the outer edge of the bumper. You can see they left a bit of room for people to fit bigger exhausts, and Miltech were a very common upgrade that actually didn't look that different to standard, but it was probably a good idea to fit the Miltech because the standard system was famously boomy on the motorway, and the Miltech got rid of that. And then we have this spoiler on the back, which for a Mk4 Golf was pretty racy. I would say short of the Mk4 Golf anniversary, I don't think another one had that. So yeah, it's subtle, but wow, what a beautiful, beautiful car. And you could justify buying it just to look at it if you had somewhere where you could keep it and admire it. Okay, now let's have a look inside, because Volkswagen haven't ignored the interior, and the first thing that you notice is the size of that bolster. It's no surprise these were battered when the cars were really quite new. This is 23 years old and that's still very, very good. Now, other Mk4 Golfs had Recaro seats in them, but they weren't a patch on these. These were made by a company called Koenig, who are an aftermarket seat manufacturer. They've got the R logo in them as well. This was a factory option leather. The standard trim was like a leatherette and a cloth trim. You could have like a beige and Alcantara, which was a bit Marmite. This was the seat to have. Look at the stainless protectors on there, beautiful. And let's not ignore the dash inlays. This is very important. We have got brushed aluminium inlays for the doors and for the center console. Now, bear in mind, the car beneath this that wasn't that much cheaper, the Golf V6 4Motion, had bloody wood, walnut style wood inlays, and yet this car was on sale at the same time, and look at the difference. So it just shows you that the V6 4Motion was aimed at a more, less sporty market, a more of sort of an autobahn cruiser car than a track car. We haven't finished yet though. Our logo on the steering wheel, clocks with a silver trim around the edge of them, and different typeface to the other models. Very much like a Bora clock, but we've got the R32 logo on there, which you never had on a Bora. Got the iconic blue illumination, which was a real big selling point for the Mk4 Golf when it was on sale. And look at the floor mats. These are the dream floor mats. So we've got silver edge, which matches this car. We've got the R logo embroidered into it. These are 22 years old and they're really still in good condition. Check out the pedals as well. So they're not just stainless, they're R branded with the R logo on them. And they've even got I'm surprised at that, because most right-hand drive cars don't have this. We've even got a branded stainless dead pedal, which is really, really cool. So this center console stack is all standard Mk4 Golf, but the matte aluminium makes a big difference. The gear knob though is bespoke to the R32, and could you ask for a better gear knob? It's also got a 4Motion on it to remind you this car is 4-wheel drive. Bit of a contrast stitch on the handbrake pull there. Heated seats were standard. ESP traction control as well. And in here we have the book pack. I'm a bit disappointed this one's missing the little R32 logo off it, because they even went to the trouble of giving you a unique book pack. Headliner is light, which surprised me because that's not really in keeping with the sporty nature of this car. I can't remember if this was dark on some other models, but actually it works really well because it makes the car feel a bit more airy, but it's still super sporty in every other way. This car's got cruise control as well, which was a factory option. There weren't that many options. You could have a sunroof, which was a ridiculous like £400. Why would you not have that? You could have navigation with a big screen, and can't remember, but there weren't a massive range of options. So even the standard spec is is as good as you could want. You've got climate control, which was standard. It's only one zone, but this was still pretty cool, and you have to pay extra for this on lots of Porsches even today. So yeah, it was a really good standard spec. Something they've got rid of on cars since then is this electronic release for the fuel filler flap. Okay, let's have a quick look in the boot. We're going to finish off under the bonnet, so don't worry about that. We'll come to that shortly. A popular thing back in the day was to have selective unlocking, which only opened the driver's door, not the rest of the car. So it was particularly important if you lived in Birmingham, like I did. And in here, this is not your standard Mk4 Golf boot. It's the V6 4Motion boot, because it doesn't have a spare wheel because there's not enough room. It's just got this space where, I don't know what you'd put in there, I don't know. But it's got a tyre foam and pump there. So normal front wheel drive Golfs would look different to that. They just have a big well with a spare wheel in them. There's this very nice little locker in here for your first aid kit and your warning triangle, which you don't get in the UK, but it's mandatory for driving in Europe. One thing that Mk4s did suffer from was the door dropping, because these are really big doors and maybe the hinges aren't really as beefy as they should be, so it can take a good slam to get the door shut. That's perfectly normal. Another thing that I'll point out, because it's quite relevant, is that this was the last Volkswagen Golf not to be laser welded. So it was traditionally welded. It had these roof gutters, which were a bit of a rust trap. And I think because the shell wasn't that stiff and you had stiff running gear, as we'll find out when we go for a test drive, it put a lot of load on the shell, which opened up the seams a bit, and that caused corrosion. And this car's 22 years old. This isn't bad at all. I saw that when they were much younger. Right, let's have a look under the bonnet. The pull is on the correct side. And it's a little bit fiddly, but there we go, can do it with one hand. And Mk4 Golf owners weep. Look at this beautiful stainless steel strut. So originally on Mk4 Golf this was black, and then for some reason they made it like nicer, and it really looks good on this silver car. Okay, so in here we have 240 horsepower, 3.2 litre, 24 valve VR6, so a narrow angle V6. Nothing like the V6s you get in Audis that are fitted the other way around, because they wouldn't fit in this engine bay. So it was created for the Mk4 Golf VR6, and it gave the Mk4 Golf more of a sort of executive feel, so it can compete with BMW 3 Series and their famous 6-cylinder engines. 0 to 62 times 6.6 seconds, which is pretty similar to this 7.5 GTI Performance, but you have to remember this is 16 years older than this, so 6.6 was pretty damn good back in the day. What I do remember really clearly is that Neil Burkitt, the Volkswagen Driver magazine editor, had one of the first ones on test, and he drove it up to see me in Birmingham to empty the fuel tank because he wasn't sure what fuel it had been delivered with, and he wanted to put some Optimax, it was called then, Shell's higher octane fuel, to make sure it had good fuel, and then he would retest it to see if it was quicker, because he wasn't getting a quicker 0 to 60 time than for the Golf V6 4Motion, which was only 204 horsepower. It is, by the way, of course, four-wheel drive, so first generation Haldex all-wheel drive system, which is pretty reliable. I say compared to the newer stuff, it's really reliable. Okay guys, well that's the Mk4 Golf R32. Now we're going to see if it drives anything like as good as it looks. And it looks really good. Really good. In the intro, I described this one as a reference example, and by that I mean it's been so well maintained that it still feels like an R32 did back in the day. So it's had new shocks, new springs, new bushes, new wishbones. It's pretty much like a new car. Even the timing chains are still in spec, which came as a bit of a surprise, but that's just the benefit of lots of fresh oil and not much abuse. I think the problem with these cars is that they sound so good, think people probably open them up when they're not really warm enough, and the timing chains don't like that. But just wait till it's warm and you can enjoy that as much as you like. Now we're on a pretty well surfaced B road, but on some roads the Mk4 R32 is verging on undrivable. I remember back in the day there were lots of older enthusiasts bought them thinking they might be a little bit firmer than a V6 4Motion. They were a lot stiffer and they got rid of them pretty quickly. On a smooth road they are incredible, and the upside of that firm ride is that this car is ready for the track out of the box, and I don't think there have been many Volkswagens like that. Maybe the Club Sport Mark 8 8.5, because that's got decent brakes. This has got decent brakes as well, rated anti-roll bars. It's got these seats that hug you like a lover that are actually really comfy as well. You might want to get the one with the cloth, so the standard interior, because these are quite slippery, but they're not bad. And then on the road, if it's smooth, it doesn't roll and float and wallow like every other Mk4. It's so flat, so poised. Okay, we've got a big heavy lump out the front, and it probably will start to push on a bit sooner than, say, you know, a Mk4 Golf GTI, but this is still a lot of fun to drive. It's not the quickest car in the world, but I don't think that matters, and you can carry the momentum through the corners because it's got so much poise. Bear in mind, it's the same weight as the Mark 8 GTI and Club Sport. It's got the same width tyres, but it's not about outright speed, this car. It's got so much charisma and character. It passes my test of feeling special when you're driving normally. You know, you can't blast around on a B road all day. Sometimes you have to drive in traffic, you have to take passengers out who may not like to be thrown around in an R32, even if it doesn't roll. We've got R down here, we've got this special steering wheel, we've got these seats that feel special, we've got this matte aluminium, which, trust me, back in 2002 was catnip, and we have that noise as well. Even now, we're in a 30. Listen to that. Could only be an R32. And yet, for all its racy aspirations, the clutch is light, and the clutch is not chocolate like it is in some other Volkswagens I could mention. And the shift, trust me, Mk4s were not a good generation for gear shifts. Some of those 1.8T and then the TTs as well were really sort of reluctant to go into gear, like the synchros weren't very efficient. This, it's like driving a Mk5, and that, trust me, is a compliment. As well as the looks of the Mk4 R32, its sound is what makes it special. I think engine noise is becoming a thing of the past, even on internal combustion engine cars, and I think that the fake noise that we got in sort of the Mark 6, 7 era is pretty tragic, to be perfectly honest. And when you drive a car like this, you realise how tragic because it's a narrow angle V6, it sounds a little bit different to normal V6s, and it's very distinctive. And when you get bored of all this, by the way, you can just pop it into 6. It's got so much response being normally aspirated that you don't need to, you could probably drive it in like 2 gears. I mean, that's the response at 40 in 6. It just wants to go. So it does have a bit of a reputation for being a slow car, but I don't think that's true. It's a very responsive car. In fact, they're actually plagued with being too jerky on and off throttle. I actually looked into trying to get this reduced on my Mk4 Golf R32 track car because it made it difficult coming out of a corner when you get back on the gas to do that smoothly and not upset the car, particularly with all that weight over the front axle. So say you turn in now and then get on the gas, you'd find it was a little bit jerky, and that couldn't really be ironed out. So you just use a higher gear. That's fine. So here's the Mk4 R32, the modern classic every Volkswagen enthusiast should aspire to have in their garage. Well, it's not the sweetest drive. I think I'd probably enjoy a Mark II Golf GTI 8-valve in the UK on typical roads. This road is not typical. I mean, I could just drive up and down this road forever in this R32 because I'm enjoying it so much. But if you want to go other places, then you might find it a little bit tiring the way it sort of doesn't settle. But that's all really I could criticise about it. It looks brilliant. It sounds amazing. And in the longer term, it should prove a pretty good investment. But please don't make the mistake of buying one of these purely for investment purposes. You have to enjoy it. You have to take it out of the UK where the roads are better and go and enjoy it, because that has a massive value, and that value is much greater than this car will appreciate over time. And don't ignore how much it will cost to store this car properly, because you do need to store it properly if you want it to be good in 10 years. And also you have to maintain it properly, and that's, does cost a lot of money. So yeah, for investment purposes, I think you're better off with an ISA. But the problem with an ISA, it doesn't sound like this. As ever guys, thanks for watching this Volks with a video. Keep subscribing, keep commenting, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.